This is Mark and Charity's Coffee Podcast.
It's Mark and Charity Coffee Podcast for St. Patrick's Day, Thursday, March 17th. Charity off today and tomorrow. Enjoying the wrap-up of the March break with her family. Be back in on Monday. Spring kicks off on Sunday. March Madness begins today. Take a look at some of the numbers for March Madness, which is pretty darn interesting. If you, as you are listening to this podcast, are putting the finishing touches on your bracket, you are one of about 45 million North Americans who will predict the NCAA tournament. And there will be roughly 70 million brackets filled out, which means, on average, we do a couple. And here at the office where we have ours, virtually everybody who's done two have said that they're doing one in the office, which is the serious, clearly I've got them all right bracket. And then there's the zany one. The one that my daughter would say is the risky play. Everybody wants to have that where you take every 12 seed over 5, every 11 seed, and a handful of 10 seeds, and you run them just to see if you can hit something. And for the most part, we don't. But 70 million brackets will be filled out in North America, not to mention those around the world. Tips off at 12:15 today with Michigan and Colorado State. Now, as you put the finishing touches on, how many times have the 4 number 1 seeds made it into the Final Four? Well, the answer is only once, and that was back in 2008. However, since 2010, only 15 of the 44 Final Four appearances have come from number 1 seeds. 11 tournaments have been run since 2010. 44 possibles move on. 15 of them. Now, that's still a big number, but there's no guarantee that being a number 1 seed gets you anything. Just ask Virginia. The only 16 seed to ever beat a number 1 seed happened in 2018, not that long ago. Do you remember who pulled it off? University of Maryland, Baltimore College, UMBC Retrievers. Shocked the world. In fact, they blew them out. Wasn't like a buzzer beater to win a Cinderella slipper. No, I think they won by over 20. And Virginia that year was not only a number 1 seed, they were the number 1 seed in the tournament. They would eventually get their revenge the following year because Virginia would win the entire tournament in 2019. I wonder, would you risk that kind of embarrassment if you knew you were going to win it the next year? Probably, right? Because you'll still be the answer to that horrible trivia question, but you still got yourself a trophy on the mantle. So why wouldn't that be bad? A number 1 seed has won 23 out of the 36 tournaments since the expansion to 64 teams in 1984. That, my friend, is an outstanding winning percentage. 36 tournaments have been run. 23 of them have been won by a number 1 seed. The lowest seed to ever win was the famous tournament back in 1985 when Georgetown, with Patrick Ewing, was an overwhelming favorite over Villanova. And the Wildcats shocked the world 66-64, making a winner of Coach Rollie Massimino. That was just a great game. Great tournament that year in 1985 as an 8th seed Villanova. Warren Buffett, we all know, loves to push the envelope when it comes to March Madness. He's a big fan of it. And being in Omaha, Nebraska, he's a big fan of the Nebraska Cornhuskers or Creighton Jayhawks. But once again, this year, he's offering up some perks to his employees at Berkshire Hathaway. In the past, it's been $1 billion if you get a perfect bracket, all 63 games correct, or maybe $1 million a year for life. No word on what it is this year. At one time, he had a public version, but that got shut down for legal reasons. But there'll be something there if you work for Berkshire Hathaway. And who has ever completed the best bracket? Well, best bracket probably depends on how you phrase it, but a neuropsychologist out of Columbus, Ohio, a guy by the name of Greg Niegel, was perhaps also being modest in his estimation of how in 2019, he managed to achieve which now stands as the longest verifiable perfect streak in March Madness bracket history. Here's what he did. He called every game correct on Thursday and Friday. 32 games. Got them all right. And then on the weekend, hit all 16 games to get into the Sweet 16, which means he got 48 games correct. He was 100% perfect through the first 4 days. And then in the Sweet 16 round, he got the first game right and then fell apart. 49 consecutive games from the start of the tournament before his bracket got busted. And that sits as the best one yet. Will anybody ever go 63-0? I hope you pull it off. But if you think in terms of, well, I want to do things like jersey colors. If you have to pick one, I'd go with blue. Because if you pick blue, that means you're picking Kansas, Kentucky, North Carolina, Duke, Villanova. You see what I'm saying? A lot of the big programs have blue. Green would get you defending champ Baylor, maybe Michigan State, a couple of others. But I predict that the winner will hoist a trophy in a blue jersey. And since everybody's probably in and done, I like Mike Krzyzewski in his final year to make a winner out of Duke Blue Devils to win it this year. And over my Cinderella school for 2022, Iowa out of the Big Ten. Huge offense. My prediction is in their first round matchup, they're going to score 100 or get pretty darn close. Or this podcast will live forever in infamy with how incorrect I was. Because that, my friend, is March Madness. So good luck with the madness, okay? And I hope your brackets do very well, and good luck with that. Also on the show this morning, we talked about the article in Men's Health magazine. And if you're a woman listening, here's what they wanted to know. They call them non-sexual foreplay tactics. Okay, so here's what men do to try and get on your good side, right? You're going to do this here, catch your attention. Does it work? So on a scale of 1 to 10, he just says, you know what? Let's go out for dinner. He chooses an expensive restaurant. You go out. Does that light your fire? 1 through 10. Average score for that was a 4. That's pretty good. You know what's better? That's a 5. He listens to me vent about my day. That's a 5. Expensive dinner's a 4. So learn that one, guys. The lowest on the scale was a 3, and that was we work out together. And that's great, but you think, oh, that's a physical activity. Not as much. It's not the way she's thinking. That's a 3. We laugh together, watch a TV show or movie. That's an 8 out of 10. There are a couple of 9s, so I'm going to save those for the end. In at number 5, we reminisce over old photos or videos. That's a 5 out of 10. He takes me to a concert or a show he knows I would like. That's a 7. Without prodding, he cleans up the house. Now, that comes in at a 6 out of 10 here. According to listeners of 95.5 Hits FM, women who texted in thought 6 was really low. A handful of them gave that one 9 or 10, and that one stood out as the one they were most surprised that it was so low. They thought that would be a 9 or 10 if he just, for no reason, started cleaning up the house. He surprises me with a sentimental gift. That was a 9. A couple of women that texted in said, that's too high because with money being tight these days, I don't want him to think he has to buy me something. He doesn't need to buy my affection. And that was a great point, being at a 9. Runs a bunch of errands for me. That's a 5. Gives me a foot rub while we watch television. That's a 7. You'd get a 6 for going for a long walk together, just talking. Buying me something I'd hesitate to get myself is a 7. So let's go back to that buying my affection thing that a number of women locally thought that might have been a little high. But here are 2 of the 9s. This is a 9 out of 10. And this is what I like about this. Guys, really pay attention to this. Number 1, he cooks dinner and cleans up. A 9. Dinner. We laugh about how men's, route to the heart is through the tummy. Make your woman in your life a nice meal, then clean up. That's a 9 out of 10. Major marks. And finally, he unexpectedly draws me a bath. Just for no other reason. He can just sense it or he knows it. That, boy, you could use a little bit of tub time and quiet and I'll look after the kids or the dogs or whatever you need me to do. You just relax and enjoy your bath. Like, wow, where did you get beamed in from another planet? That is a 9 out of 10. So you'll find all of that on Men's Health Magazine's website and in their latest issue. It's the Mark and Charity Coffee Podcast. This St. Patrick's Day, enjoy it with whatever you've got going on today. And wherever you find your podcast, you'll find us daily up by 11 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time on fine spots like Amazon Music or Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your favorite podcasts, and link to our social media sites. Join us tomorrow for the Dad Joke of the Week and lots more, including the phrase that pays. If you want to win $95 cash from McDowell's, your independent grocer at 400 Dundas Street, East Belleville, and Base Subaru online at basesubaru.com, and find them in Belleville at 32 Millennium Parkway. I could be phoning you tomorrow morning. The phrase that pays, of course, is I listen to 95.5 Hits FM. You'd be up $95. Enjoy your St. Patrick's Day. Good luck with your brackets, and we'll talk to you tomorrow morning on 95.5 Hits FM.